Yeah, so let's do this. I have, well, since this was dropped on me out of blue, which is fine. I think I can swing it. I have two topics that I'm gonna cover, probably, whatever time we'll take each. One's kind of personal, the other one work related, as I mentioned, so that Janet learns some of the AIM stuff that she probably should be aware of. Um, and then we'll do a little bit of practice. And as I mentioned, we'll do practice based on the circle I led last Wednesday. And if anybody's ever interested in things like this, if you kind of it's a bit more spiritual. So if you're interested in joining different healing services of this type, then of course I'll share you how you can do that. But COVID updates, since I kept hoping that there will be like a tick on down on COVID updates. No. So apparently this new strain is rapidly, so it's already almost 50% across the country. You do all need to be aware of it, and not because it's more severe, but because that serious, what they call razor sharp throat pain is quite debilitating for some occasionally. And so you shouldn't panic because it's not sometimes a severe throat pain and swelling can be a real serious dangerous thing. Not this. This is just appears to be very painful. There's not a lot of inflammatory response locally. It's just this particular somehow this strain affects some pain receptors in the throat more than prior. This is quite specific to this strain. I don't necessarily see it as a bigger problem, but you should be aware. So if you're having that symptom, it's pretty much 100% certain you have it. In fact, here's what I would say. If you have a primary symptoms being very severe throat pain and you don't have tests at home, don't necessarily run and get it. Presume you have it, self-isolate for a few days, take supportive measures. If the symptoms, they should be mild for everybody. If they're mild enough, I'm not even sure you have to call your physician unless you're really getting worse or unless you're really concerned that your immune system is weaker than average, and then you probably should talk to someone if that happens. But I haven't prescribed Paxlovid to anybody in months. One of my patients had an excess supply left from previous time she had COVID, and she just took it on her own accord. But I think she probably didn't have to take it, but she's fine either way. So update number one. Update number two, those of you who track the story of origin, WHO today, a couple hours ago, just came out with a final conclusive report on the origin, that being zoonotic, meaning it came as presumed originally from bats. How exactly it came, they said they don't have a full picture of it. Apparently, there's also a disclaimer in the report. You can read the whole report. You can Google it. There's plenty of links to it. But they claiming that they're not fully aware of how the jump happened, and there seems to be a lot of missing information that China never provided them. So of course the report's going to leave space for conspiracy theories and for ideas that this was, lab generated virus. I don't think that discourse will change. I don't think this report is sort of gonna be all over the news. I think it's just not, especially I think that this administration is on purpose trying to sort of hush hush COVID as much as possible. And so I think we're not going to hear much about it. So last little piece of news on COVID is it's an interesting development. So apparently for this new upcoming booster, FDA requires all vaccine makers to start putting side effects on the label, particularly side effect of heart disease and inflammation of lungs and heart as an actual risk of this vaccine. It's going to be on the label on every vial. And apparently there are going to be some kind of other additional pieces of information supplied to every person who's going to get the shots. The risk is listed as, of course, quite minimum, 8 cases for a million of vaccines in older or in middle age to older people, and up to 25 cases per million in younger adults, and particularly teenagers in early 20s. Will that affect uptake of vaccine boosters? I don't know. I presume the answer is absolutely yes, because people are going to see this. So those are all my updates on COVID. Let's just do Q&A. So Lynette, I think you were first. You had a question.
Yes, I did. And I don't know if you've answered it already or not about that razor throat, because my friend, my neighbor, she's a doctor and she's had this larynx problem where she calls it laryngitis, but she has almost lost her voice and her throat is sore. And is that could and I just asked her if she had taken the COVID test. But does that sound familiar with this
How
razor?
long it's been going on with her?
About 2.5 weeks. And she's been to the hospital 2 times for it.
Yeah, no, that's not it. I
Okay.
can guarantee you it's something else, yeah. Because
Okay.
they would definitely test in the hospital. So they always, when patients come with any upper respiratory symptoms, they all get universally tested in the hospital. So that means that she was tested at least in an emergency room, but it's also doesn't fit.
Okay.
Usually it's a very sharp pain or a pain that goes away in a day or two. It shouldn't, it should, even if it doesn't go fully away after a couple of days, it should quickly diminish. Something lasting for weeks is something different. I think it could be more bacterial. It could be not even infectious. There are other
Right.
forces of inflammation of the larynx, which is what you said, laryngitis.
Right.
I think you should have her encourage her to sort of have this worked out with her medical team and figure out what's going on.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And I wanted to know about the razor throat for myself too, because the new strain is coming on and I'm getting out more. And so I'm still wearing my mask when I'm around a lot of people indoors.
Hmm.
So that
Good.
I
That's
will
good. That's
get
exactly
that.
right.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you,
Yep.
doctor, very much.
Yep. All right. The drill. So I'm gonna start with whatever's in the chat. If you guys want to unmute yourself, by all means, just raise the hand first. Okay, could you revisit? Okay, so creatine supplements. And I am apologizing. I've been just excessively busy. I promised everybody to do the video on the creatine for Alzheimer's disease, and I still haven't had time to analyze the study. So it's on my to-do list. It'll happen maybe, I don't know, about June, maybe early July. So creatine has been known to be a very effective muscle growth booster, but also more recently, it's been now promoted as something really successful for cognitive support, cognitive health. Typical dose that's out there that's been studied a lot is 5 grams. And typically, that's a standard dose that comes with the package of creatine you bought. There's going to be a scoop in there or some kind of a measuring device that's going to look like scoop. They're different. They could be different sizes. They could be plastic. They could be metal. I don't think it doesn't make any difference. And so you're basically doing one scoop. Now, the way I often recommend it, also go up sometimes up to 10 grams and see if you feel a difference. If you feel a significant difference with the increase, by all means, continue higher dose. You're just going to have to recheck your kidneys. So with what's going on with kidneys, as a reminder, and I talked about this, but I'll have to say again so that there's no confusion. People who have kidney failure should not take creatine because there is an actual potential. Well, it's not that they shouldn't take it. Let me back up. You need to really take it under monitor and under being monitored by a physician if you already have a kidney failure or kidney problems, kidney insufficiency. Now, if your kidneys are fine, there's never really a risk. But what will happen, you will have creatinine, which is a kidney function, go up, and it will look like as if you lost part of your kidney function. It's an artificial effect. It's the way that the creatine gets processed. It actually doesn't mean that the kidneys are worse. They're simply producing more creatinine because you're feeding it creatine. It's never going to cause a kidney failure. It's never going to progress. It bumps up somewhat and then it stays flat, that increase. But you still need to know this because what happens is you get periodic blood tests. You're going to go to your doctor. The doctor's going to recheck your blood work next year, and there's going to be a bump. And the doctor's going to say, wait a second, we have a problem here. What are you taking that's caused this? And it quite often leads to, oh, I started creatine, and oh, no, you should stop it. No, that's all been debunked, and there's been a definitive study not that long ago. So that's, I think, what Jennifer was saying. 1 to 2 scoops. Start with 1 scoop. Make sure there's nothing majorly changed with your kidneys. If you want to go up to 2 scoops, you have to recheck your kidneys 1 more time. That's it. What do you think about the immunity supplied by the last strain recently? That's a great question. So it's actually hard to answer here. I think that the new vaccine should include probably Nimbus 2, this most recent strain that's here now.
Can you fuck me in the ass?
What was that?
Someone said something. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Is somebody unmuted? If you're trying to ask the question, can you hold it until we actually start answering questions? I mean, until it's your turn. Just raise your hand so I can see where your question is. Okay. Okay. So back to Jennifer's second question about immunity supplied by the last strain, if you had it recently, as did. Yeah. So Jennifer, I probably would not get
Fuck me, please, to my ass.
Excuse me, could you please stop interrupting him? Thank you.
Yes, if we make sure that no one speaks until I ask you to speak, okay? So if you already had it, hold it probably at least 6 months. So Jennifer, let's say you had a shot in May. Definitely don't even consider next one until toward the end of the year, no matter when the booster comes out, right? We don't know when the booster will come out. Booster may come out early in September, it may come out later. No matter when it comes out, if you just had a booster, you don't need to take another one for 6 months. And I think I anticipate there will be a little bit better efficacy for the newest strain, but it's probably not going to be sufficiently different for you to worry too much. So if you already had a booster within the last 6 months, carry on until the 12 months mark. Remember my previous statements. I disagree with CDC recommending boosters every 6 months. I think it's excessive. I don't think there's any evidence that's suggestive that this has any additional substantial value. Now, there could be exceptions in few situations. I mentioned those before. If you have a very significant immune deficiency, you're undergoing cancer treatment, what it is. So I'm going to answer all the questions in the text. I also strongly recommend, if you guys do have a question, still put it in there so that I will spend as much time simply answering your questions in case they come back, or we're going to not remove anybody else, I think, for now, right? So James, if you can you please put your question in the written format? As we as we said, we want to honor everybody who comes here to learn something new and make sure that everybody benefit from the event and there's no interruptions. Okay, so let me go back to questions. What do I think to prepare meal delivery? Okay. Great question. So I think it's a great substitution if for whatever reason you're not able to make a healthy meal. I actually think there are plenty of very high quality frozen meals. Territory Foods is, I'm going to just name it. I don't know, maybe Stephanie can help me out. Stephanie, if you're around, I know you're pretty fast typer, or Jennifer, whoever, you guys find the link for Territory Foods and put it in the chat. So Territory Foods is a local company that's here in our area. They're not organic, but they're all locally sourced. And what's most important, Rona, they have a specific therapeutic meals. So you can order anti-inflammatory diet, you can order ketogenic diet, you can order, low FODMAP. Like they really designed the meals based on a specific prescription plans. Now they have other general ones. They have like just a general healthy foods and like vegetarian and others, but they do have those therapeutics. So check them out. There are several other services it's hard for me to remember everything. I like Territory Foods. I use them more. And the interesting, since you guys asked, my younger son was thinking of starting one at our own clinic. So we're in the process of researching opening a small, literally making a small prepared meal delivery service for our patients, that we will have a freezer in a clinic and he will cook meals once a week. So that's sort of his first commercial project he's thinking about. We'll see if he actually gets his act together. But point being is, idea is very valid. There are some probably small companies that do this, and they may be close to you. Do research their quality, their cost. There's so much variability. We've tried some of the lower cost, larger delivery system, which were just not enough medical, I would say, for us, but they were tasty. Okay, so next question by Randall. Do you think COVID will ever fade away like the Spanish flu did? It's a great question. I actually, my initial answer, and I think I already said something like this, I don't think that it'll be more like Spanish flu. I don't think it'll fade away. I think it will become another cold. You know how we have a flu every year. Now we're going to have a COVID every year, and then we're going to have a common cold every year. Some of it's going to be at different times of the year. I think actually it will trickle down, meaning we'll probably have only at most 2 episodes a year, but may possibly even just one. The viruses tend to eventually mature in a very specific cycle. So there's typically rotational component to it. So, they may be once a year or maybe twice a year. So it'll mature into something a bit more predictable. I think it's already is. We already think of those 2 waves, the winter and the summer wave, which we are in a summer wave right now. So I hope that answers it. Okay. If it's a COVID I had in February, I couldn't swallow. I could swallow it. Okay. Yeah, so it's possible that it sounds exactly COVID-like, Cecile. Sounds like you didn't do the test, otherwise you probably would have written that you've tested negative or positive. But it very well could be. Even the old strain was causing regular regular throat discomfort. So it's very, very possible you have this. It's just this new strain specifically has very strong, they call it razor pain. So that's kind of it's a different quality to pain. If the pain was more aching, that's one, but the razor is sharp. It's a sharp pain. So that's the uniqueness of this one. Yeah, they're gonna list this. Yeah, we'll see. That's Benita. That's how I feel. I think listing something that happens 8 times in a million. I think I've read somewhere that once every 10 million meals, there's a severe aspiration or something like that. I remember I read something like this. So, it's basically what we're now going to list on every meal we eat, that there is a 1 in 8 million chances of you choking on a piece of meat. So, but it is what it is. So I wanted to tell you that more without judgment necessarily, that you make your own decisions. How you feel about that? Okay, so Cecile asking another question. What is the immunity I have from having had COVID versus boosters? So, here's what we know. We know that it's very similar. We know that immunity that you had from COVID seems to be potentially much longer lasting. That's I would say, one key difference. There's been at least several studies early on. We're going back years. Now, if you actually want, again, I don't know if Jennifer or Stephanie has time to go to my YouTube channel and fish out that article I presented, right? So I presented an article comparing natural immunity versus the boosters. This was now, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, but it was the best, largest Lancet study that compared. And there was actually real differences. So the COVID booster gave us stronger protection against having no symptoms at all. But it was also not as long acting. So the effect of the disease lasted a lot longer. Booster was pretty much gone at around 9 to 10 months effect, or was much decreased to the point where, there was still probably some protection, but much less, versus it was longer with the natural immunity. So I would just say that. because there are more questions. Liposomal. Okay, liposomal, it's a type of absorptive mechanism. Liposomes are small fat soluble kind of circular structures that are, when they enter our system, they can very easily get incorporated into the fat soluble components of our system. So remember, when we're drinking water, for the water to get inside the cells, it has to get somehow processed. Actually, anything that we consume has to get processed. Liposomes are significantly enhancing absorption through the mucous membranes because of the way of delivery itself. It's this kind of a round molecule that which has the active ingredient inside. And the beauty is that you can put inside that liposome otherwise difficult to absorb the molecule, and that dramatically enhances its absorption. It's changed completely delivery of all, not just pharmaceuticals, but all nutraceuticals and all kinds of things. Cannabinoids are now delivered a lot of times with liposomal preparations. Now, the evidence of cannabinoids, liposomal versus not, is very weak, if any. But point being is that there's a lot of interest in further moving that technology. It's a great question. I could talk about that question for quite some time. Okay, I have a question, but I can't unmute. Well, James, you need to type the question for now. So
he left.
all right. Okay, what are your thoughts on C15? So C15, as you all know, we already had a podcast with them. Please go and listen. Janet will post the link. We called that podcast, okay, I don't know if I will get this right. What do dolphins have in common with something, or rather, which I don't remember, which is a fascinating story, how C15 was uncovered. And as a result of that podcast, we're halfway through a study that assessing linking C15 result, which we've been collecting apparently for years, with some health outcomes. So we cannot talk about this because we're in the middle of it, but once we have results, so trust me, you guys will be the first. I'll be talking about the results too. I don't, PPC, I'm not sure. Maybe you want to spell this out. If that's phosphatidylcholine, I can talk about this quite a lot. But maybe there's some other substance which it's just not on my top of my head as I need to move forward. Right. All right, thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. Link, so if you guys, territory food link is in there. Takes a little while to navigate it, by all means. Okay, Sakara, Alyssa, I presume that's another meal delivery. If you please give a link. I do trust that your choice is good. And if you have some opinion about this, please type. I think people would like to hear it. Yeah, it is a hack. That's what I'm thinking. I think this does periodically happens. I've heard. It's just never happened to us here. Weird. Okay, CBD supplements. Sleep's not an instrument. Yeah, I think very good point, Randall. CJ, that's we know CBD works great for sleep. One thing with CBD for sleep, you're probably gonna need to take a bit more than often what's on the label. I would say best doses of CBD for sleep are somewhere around 50 to 100 milligrams, a little bit more than, say, just a low dose. So yes, correct. So I do want to bring up an important point about processed meal, prepackaged meals, and it's not just the packaging. You could theoretically make the packaging very safe, so microplastic zero. Unfortunately, what I will tell you, this is one of my main concerns with anything prepackaged, is when you have to reheat it in prepackaged form. So one thing, whatever the meal you're gonna get, please make sure you get it out of the package. Don't heat it up in a plastic package. Put it on a plate. The microplastics, we've already talked about it. There is by all means, go ahead, go to my YouTube channel. There's a review of the data showing the dramatic increase in risk of dementia if the microplastics are in the brain. So take a look and definitely try to minimize the packaging. So that doesn't really change from that perspective. On other hand, of course, Jennifer, it is like, think about this, how much of our fresh foods are also packaged. So we need to be true to everything we do, right? And unfortunately, at the moment, almost everything's still in plastic. However, it's a balance of things for sure. Because if you don't put some of the fresh produce in the plastic, they're gonna just go rotten very quickly, and you're gonna have to spend a lot more time on a rapid transfer. So there's going to be other problems. There are going to be other losses. More importantly, you're actually going to waste more energy. And so it's nothing is simple. There's a great book, I mentioned it earlier, a couple of months ago. I have to go to my Audible to not give you the wrong name. I'll do that now. It's a book about about our environment, but it's kind of it's written by an expert journalist who is actually specialized in environmental studies. It's called "Not the End of the World" by Hannah Ricci. And so it's an interesting, like, it's very pro-environment, and yet it's quite against a lot of our preconceived ideas. So please do consider reading or listening to the book. All right, so we got some also stuff in the chat that doesn't belong there. It is what it is. Okay, so Randall, C15 is a type of a fat, and it's a type of a fat that's a saturated fat. If you've ever run any sophisticated fatty acid analysis, you may even have that tested on yourself, believe it or not. And it's quite protective. It turns out to be one of there's other saturated fats that are good for us. This is one that's probably best for us. We mostly get it from yogurt, and now there is a supplemental form to get. So if you're interested, do tune into our podcast, and I'm sure that at some point Janet can post the link. Okay, good. Okay, Mighty Meals, I think I actually also heard. I heard that they're pretty good. I don't know about this vegetable and butcher, but everybody take a look. So there are other types of meals listed. Great, thank you so much for posting all of that. Good. So I agree. So and that's critical aspect. And by the way, we've been part of what's called community sustainable agriculture, where once a week we would get basically a paper box full of produce, and you pay just a monthly fee, and whatever is in a season you get brought. You have no control over that. So that's called community supportive agriculture, or CSA. And farmers market would be the second best guess, right? Because you can just go and get something completely fresh, brought right from, probably no more than 50, 100 miles from where we are, and that's the lowest environmental impact, but more importantly, it's the least packaged one. So now the problem, of course, is not everybody can shop in a farmer's market. Prices are often much higher, etc. Do we store the yogurt in it? No, right? Because your yogurt sitting in a fridge, whenever anything is cooled down, it's a bit safer. It's not completely safe, but I think it's actually safer than trying to move yogurt from one pack container to another, right? Because the other problem, your yogurt, if you move it to another container, you can't keep that container sterile first. So you also have to account for that your yogurt may go bad a lot faster. So I would say that's not something I do in my house, and I don't think it's realistic. Fascinating questions today. Oh, see how good it is sometimes to just. All right, that was the last question, and Elisa did post a link. Janet, I have a feeling we should keep staying everybody muted, right? What do you say? I don't know
Yes,
if
yes.
they still can come back.
I did kick the two people who I think are the culprits out.
Well, I also kicked a couple of people out.
Okay. We'll have to talk afterwards and see if we kicked out the same people.
All
Well,
right.
actually, I canceled their registrations. But anyway, yeah, I prefer to keep things locked down for now.
All right. All right. So I'm sorry, everybody. You're getting me, and only me, and no choice of you saying. So I'll keep on staying entertaining. So one topic is I was going to talk about that very briefly, but so usually I'm always running out of time, right? So sometimes when I know somebody else presenting, I pre-plan my activity. So I will be listening to them. But so here I finished eating and I organized my drink and all my supplements. So this was my time to gradually, because I have a, I don't know if you guys see this. So I have about maybe 20-25 capsules I take once a day after largest meal of the day, which was just my first meal, which was, I guess, late breakfast. So that breakfast I ate at 1:30 roughly, just before we started. I didn't want to eat in front of everybody, so I just ate before. But usually within an hour after that, my habit is to take all my supplements. Sometimes I would do it towards the evening, but actually if my breakfast was really big, like today, there's like a couple of eggs and I had some potato leftovers, some vegetables, actually a lettuce from our own garden. We have a departing gift from our chickens. Guys, this is story I have to mention. So chickens died. Last chicken died about 3 months ago. They got old, and eventually, I think some of them were taken by the fox. One just died from old age. They stopped laying years before they passed, like probably about 3 years ago. And they can live up to about 10 years, but this one's lived around 6 or maybe closer to 7. So yeah. Anyway, after they all passed, I gave away. We said we're done. We're not going to keep them anymore. Kids are not interested in this. They're not helping anymore. They used to help out and not anymore. So we just said, let's get rid of all the equipment. So I give everything away. But the area where they were, suddenly we have a whole garden growing. We have lettuce. We have now there's one squash that grew, but now there's like 20 squashes on it, and they're big. They're like this size. So they fertilize that little piece, maybe, I don't know, 5 by 5 feet. They fertilized it to the point where we now have a massive departing summer garden there that gives us some couple of different vegetables. So, all right. So I take a lot of different things, since I figured you guys would be interested in hearing what I take. I take a methylation support, so it's a very concentrated B complex. I started about 2 years ago. I started taking glucosamine chondroitin, and by the way, I don't have any arthritis. I do just think there's enough data on prevention. I take mineral formula, which is basically calcium, magnesium, and I think potassium and phosphorus all at one. Not a big amounts. There's only about 300 milligrams of calcium and probably about 300 milligrams of magnesium. I don't remember about the others. And then I think there's also a little bit of zinc. And again, I'm getting to, since I turned 50, I'm starting to gradually support my bones a little bit more. I'm probably going to take this dose for quite a long time. I have two cognitive formulas that sort of I prescribe to a lot of my patients. I'm probably not going to dwell into which one of those. I don't think it necessarily matters. Well, one of them is a mix of things, and one of them is a special form of magnesium called magnesium threonate. Sometimes I would like right now I'm just taking this because I got this at one of the conferences at the show, and I wanted to try to see what I feel. I don't feel anything on it. I don't know if I'll continue that, but sometimes it happens. I would just add a new supplements to try to see what the effect is. So then I have an adaptogen that I take a couple times a week. It's especially, I would take it more when either I feel run down or there's like right now a pretty major weather change. So, it's nice to support your system when we're going into some strange ups and downs, right? It's cool today, tomorrow it's hot again. On the weekend, I have to go for a pretty long ski training, probably between 1.5 hours to 2, and it's going to be 90 degrees. So it's also presetting me for the pretty intense activity, knowing that I will have to get recovered very quickly after that. So my next week goes just fine because I'm thinking of doing it tomorrow. So I have an extra, or actually, probably tomorrow I won't be able to do it because we're helping one of our practitioners, Deidre, to move. But I'll probably have to do this early on Sunday and then have the whole day to recover. And I'm missing something here to tell you about. A very high potency multivitamin formula product called Mitocore. I put some of you guys on it. I take it myself. It's a sophisticated formula with a variety of nutrients and also mitochondrial support. So that was really quickly that. And now for next probably few minutes. And if you guys keep having questions, keep dropping them in the box. That's perfectly fine. So my next, I think I have to share my screen with you. Just give me 1 second to find this. So today, just a couple hours before we all got together, group of us from the clinic, but also from AIM, went out to see this absolutely magnificent place, which I have a very strong feeling, Elisa, you need to hear this, that both AIM and maybe even GW will be very closely working with. So this is a recent development. The place itself was owned for a long time by couple, and this is husband and wife. I'm looking for their name somewhere up here, somewhere, I don't know. And anyway, so the man of the house, and I'm blanking on his name at the moment since this is new. So he was a very, very well-known herbalist. He was at the core of teaching at Tai Sophia or at Maryland University of Integrative Health. He wrote 20 plus books, most of them about medicinal herbs. And he has 300 medicinal herbs in this place. Fascinating view. The plants are put in those beds down below the house towards the creek. And now this Community Ecology Institute it's a nonprofit that has sort of bought this property, and they're going to manage it. And they're hoping to do retreats. They're hoping to do medical botanical walks. They're hoping to do like a day events for the community, and so they quickly figuring them out. The way they think, it fits perfectly well with both our academic approach to health, but also to the AIM Health Institute. So I'm sure we will try to partner with them somehow. It's a 6 acres, very close. It's actually closer. It's Fulton, so it's closer than Columbia. It's one town closer to us, to DC, than Columbia. If you're in a Silver Spring, Rockville, Gaithersburg area, you're within 30 minutes from there, probably even less, like 20 to 25 minutes. So it's very easy to reach. And very, very good vibe. You're basically close to the city, but you're not hearing it at all. Like it looks like you're in the middle of nowhere, and the energy is very quiet and very meditative, very retreat-like. So, and I said I will do this because I needed Janet to see this and tell her that we are going to. Janet, I'm most likely going to invite the executive director to do the podcast with us and do the podcast about their work, basically. But it spans across a lot of what we do, so I can also come up with something a bit more mutually interesting to discuss. I just need to think about this. I actually know her from 15 years ago, more like 20 years ago, when we were both early in our medical career. She was very heavily involved in a doctor's organization that was strongly advocating for transparency in medications, correct labeling, and avoidance of a direct-to-consumer advertising, and also disclosing of all the conflict of interest that physicians have with pharmaceutical industry, and also aggressively trying to support single-payer healthcare system and Obamacare. So we both used to volunteer for that organization when we were in residency. So we're looking at 15 plus years ago. So that's how we knew together, Jim and I. All right, I think there are more questions, and then we'll have to do, and then we're going to do the practice. So I'm going to stop sharing. I'm actually going to put the link for you. It'll be easier for me. Right. Okay, let's see what the questions are. Yeah, Jim Duke's garden. Thank you. That's exactly right. And surprisingly, I never knew about him because, he was a very influential figure decades ago. I think it's because it was decades ago and I wasn't here decades ago. I think that's really the difference. What he brought was before I got into medical school. I think mostly by the time, when I was in medical school, this topic was taken up by other people. Yeah, you need a reservation. You can't just walk in. It's for now at least. They're still in a lot of transitioning period. They do hold some workshops, but Roni, if you want to go, I'm pretty sure that I can also kind of co-facilitate. I can connect you with Jean or somebody else in there if needed. So. And yes, Dr. Jaffe will reschedule it. They already told us that. Yeah, yeah, we know him for a long time. I know him for a long time. So he and I, there's a very personal, deep connection that goes, I don't know, decades ago. When I was in medical school, in the second or third year of medical school, I just started getting on a Sufi path, and he actually was one of the early mentors that I had because he was into Sufism and he was a physician, and he and we met at the American Holistic Medical Association, and then he actually helped a lot. I was back then running holistic events, not dissimilar from this, for medical students, and he was one of the mentors on several different events and locations. So we've stayed in touch for years after, and it's kind of nice how it's the same exact thing with me and Andrew Weil and lots and Deepak Chopra. Like back in the day, all these people, I could just email them or call them and they would talk to you. It's different now. But 25 years ago, those of us who were doing this all in, as I was, we had them come and teach students it, and they never charged anything. All of this was completely free. So that goes all the way back, right? I'm cognizant of time. I still want us to do a little practice. Okay, let's see if I missed anything. If you guys think that I missed something, please retype. It's possible that I just didn't notice, since it's kind of hard to do everything at once, especially when we're not prepared. And on top of that, being bumped. That actually did throw me off, I must say. It threw me off. I was on a topic and then I got so tense for just a few seconds, and that was enough to throw me completely off of track of what I was going to do. It took me a couple of minutes to sort of recompose myself. Yeah, okay, so really important tip from Stephanie. Please, everybody, read this. I'm going to repost this. I have done this myself when I was medical student. If the money is an issue, go towards the end when a lot of stuff gets just given away, or they dramatically drop prices because they need to offload. They often don't want to go back and drive the produce back because they know they often have no way of selling it later. It's a great tip. Thanks. Okay, I do have a trouble falling asleep on my own for sleep. Sounds like we have to do a sleep as a topic, right? Janet, when did we do sleep as a topic last time? Can't remember.
It's been at least a year.
All right, we're doing sleep.
Probably more than that.
All right, Cecile, can I table all of what you're asking? Or can I ask you, please table that? And if we don't find somebody right away, I'll do it myself. I promise. But I just want us committed time to that because it's such an important topic. But I would say if you're doing homeopathy for sleep, to my knowledge, you have very little risk as long as it's working. Again, I disagree with constitutional homeopath who often say that no one should be taking complex mixes. I disagree with that. I've seen complex mixes like the one you take, the Sleep Calm, work well for some people, so I have no problems anybody taking them if they work. CBD definitely something you could consider trying. You absolutely do not need to get anything from cannabis dispensaries. You can find CBD that's a lot cheaper. And actually for that, if you want, please send me an email. And again, if anybody else want the link to trusted CBD brands, send me an email. I don't want to put them here. I feel like I rather individually respond to people's emails than posting anything because I don't, for ethical reasons, I don't want to impose. I simply can share it, but again, I think I'd rather share it individually with you. Okay. All right. Will COVID become benign? Like, yes, it pretty much already is. It's just about twofold more concerning compared to common cold. But basically, at this point, flu and COVID have roughly the same mortality. So take it for what that mean, for what that's worth. All right. I think we got through all the questions. If I forgot somebody, I apologize, but I don't think we have more time for anything because it's rare. I have only 10 minutes left. So just a reminder, if you are my patient and you need to stay to talk to me, by all means, stay after. We'll finish recording. I will make sure there's no people who are not, who don't need to be there, and then we'll talk. All right, so let's center, find a comfortable position. As I promised, what I'll do is I'll do a little bit of a practice that I did during last Wednesday. This may be a little bit different for some of you. And the practice has a lot of prescriptive text. It flows through a very specific attunements. So what we're going to do is, and this is a healing service. So the concept of this service is we're not really sending anything from ourselves. We are tuning ourselves to become the conduits of the healing energy into the world. And then that energy through us gets directed to a cause. It could be a particular person, or it could be an actually the situation. Like, so for example, I gave a service to the wars and to the climate of the earth. So, and that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to do kind of a very shortened version of it. You just relax, find comfortable place. We'll start with just synchronizing our breath. Toward the one, the perfection of love, harmony, and beauty, the only being united with all the illuminated souls, who form the embodiment of the messenger, the spirit of guidance. And then there's going to be 3 silences. In this first one, we're going to concentrate on unity of the whole creation. So we're just going to imagine the peace. We're going to imagine the unity. We're going to imagine that we are part of that peace and unity of the whole creation. And each science is just about a minute long. O thou, whose nature is mercy and compassion, and whose being is all peace, creator and sustainer of our life, send on the whole of humanity thy peace, and unite us all in thy divine harmony. So now the second silence. In second silence, we imagine ourselves as a channel for healing, as the channel that allows the healing energy to come through us. O thou, who art the spirit of our souls, and the master of our minds, and the mover of our bodies, we most humbly offer ourselves to thee to be used as the channel for thy love, light, and life, that we may be more able to serve thee and humanity. And then this third silence is we imagine the flow of healing energy through us. O thou, the light of all souls, the life of all beings, healer of hearts, all-sufficient, all-powerful God, forgiver of our shortcomings, free us from all pain and suffering, and make us thine instrument, that we may, in our turn, free others from pain and suffering, and that we may impart to them thy light, thy life, thy joy, and thy peace. So, and now we will this is the place where we actually hold in our thoughts, in our flow of our healing energy through us, we holding whatever we decide to hold. And so what I want us to hold is really our own earth, just one, just earth, with our climate changes, with the political changes, with so many different things that are happening, just sending the healing energy to our own motherland we're on. And this takes also about a minute or two. So we just breathe in and breathe out. And if you have any spiritual words or mantras you like to use that you by all means can. If you're within the Sufi tradition, we would say inhale Shafi, the healing power of God, and then exhale Kafi, the all-pervading life of God, 5 times. And you don't have to say it. We'll just do inhale, exhale 5 times together. Do this 3 inhales with raising our hands. And to finish the practice, imagine the energy washing over us, because we're still transmitting that healing energy. So give a little bit to ourselves 3 times. And then after 3rd time, just bring your hands right over under the belly button. Just hold the silence here for a couple of breaths, finishing this practice. Okay, well, thank you everybody for tolerating today's bombed, I think that's the term, right? Bombed Zoom session. We survived that. I'm sure we'll survive others. Janet and I are gonna have to put the heads together how to avoid this. Of course, we're not having a meeting next Friday. It's the 4th of July. Everybody, hope you have a wonderful long weekend. And Janet, what do we have the week after that? Which would be the 11th? No.
Yeah, just put something in the chat.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. Oh, Niall is back. Wonderful.
Yes.
All right. So we know her. We love her. She's been here for multiple times. It's always a delight to have her. If you are coming, I do suggest get ready for some movement. So make sure you have enough space for that. Usually we do some movement. I don't know what she's going to do, but I presume potentially some movement. All right. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Stay cool.
Take care.
And I know at least one person has to stay to talk to me. Elisa, before you go, who's